It's good to have you join us again on the Diaspora. The program focuses on Nigerians living and working abroad. Welcome. This week we pay our attention again to Nigerians living and working in the People's Republic of China as we bring you the concluding part of our interviews with Nigerians in that country. Welcome. My name is Makut Simon Macham. Now, in the last edition, we brought you some of the interviews we had with Nigerians living and working in China, where they spoke about various issues. Here are some of the interviews we did not bring to you last week. Meet Nigerians living and working in China. What is the perception of Chinese about Nigerians? You have been doing business in this environment for some time, and so how do Chinese perceive Nigerians? Do they like Nigerians? Because there's this thing that is bandied around that Nigerians are this, Nigerians are that, negatively around the world. How does it play out in China?
It's very, very devastating for us here. I use the word devastating because they stereotype a lot. In Guangzhou, Guangdong province, recently, no Nigerian passport holder is allowed to stay in anything less than 4-star hotel. Thank God for the consulate office in Guangzhou. They are fighting it and they are winning. In Guangzhou, it's difficult for us to get a good accommodation for us holding Nigerian passports. In Guangzhou, a lot of things is happening. So I want to use the opportunity to plead with Mr. President to carry out personal investigation about the suffering of Nigerians. But for me, that have lived here for 40 years, I never committed any crime. Have I been in any police station? And so many Nigerians are like that. You cannot stereotype Nigerians to be bad. Oh, no, it's impossible. I don't like it. So the image, the relationship for us there is not too good, although I must praise them because they are trying to put their house in order. But I want to let them know that they should reconsider some of these policies. It's really affecting us. I want to tell you something. Statistics have shown that over $10 million flew in, both from banks to Guangzhou, from Guangdong province. And some have shown we contribute about 14% of the economy, Nigerians alone. But we are not benefiting some of these things that are accrued to us to benefit as residents here. It's too difficult. And as I speak to you now, difficult for Nigerian holders to have a resident visa in Guangzhou. My family is not allowed. I lived there for 14 years. My wife and my kids is not allowed. Only one person is entitled. So devastating.
How easy is it for you, Nigerian and black community, like you say, doing business in China?
Well, for me personally, I would think it's not that difficult because I went through, when I first moved over, I went through the MBA. I did my MBA at Jiao Tong University, one of the very popular university in China. And after that, I learned about the system and work with the system to go through registering my own company and understanding that there was difficulties in getting my own business registered. I then acquired the business ideas myself in assisting other people, because one of the key things is the language and also the culture background as well. So being an African or being Nigerian or being black doing business here is not that difficult if you understand the culture and the way that the people think. But if you're using your own way to actually do business here, then it will be very difficult. So for advice for people is to try to learn a little bit about the culture and how things are done and try to figure out how to work together with the Chinese.
Okay, now business with Chinese, business with China, from what we understand, it's all about exports to Nigeria, little about imports to China, which means then that there's a huge imbalance. What's your view?
This is one of the reasons why we started, my company in particular, started to advise not just the Nigerian consulate in Shanghai, but also the Nigerian consulate in Guangzhou. And we're moving it around to assist and empower and to give more information. Being here for a long time, we understand that business is looking one-way street. not a two-way side. And we are trying to put some of information forward so the government can be able to persuade the Chinese as well. If there is some kind of like a duty-free that they offer to the Chinese in importing goods to Nigeria, they should offer that to the Nigerians bringing things to China as well, raw materials, commodities, things that could be used in exchange. I think this is a question we have to ask the federal government and also push our government to do more in terms of back and forth. We have to have business coming into China as well to promote, because if we want to develop Nigeria, we have to develop Nigeria manufacturing side. And if we're developing that side, we need the place to sell it, and China is a big market.
I've been here for 2 years and studying architecture for a master's degree.
How is learning here in China, apart from the language, the environment, and of course the character of learning? How is it here?
I think it's been interesting coming to China to learn basically architecture, the culture and the language, but I will give heads up to our Nigerian universities because we're really keeping pace with the quality of education in the Western world and in China particularly, because my first degree was excellent back in Nigeria, and I can see that the level of research even back in Nigeria is closely just as good as what we have here in China too. So the moving into China was quite easy for me from my background in Nigeria.
Okay. So what's your advice to Nigerian students who intend to come to China to study? What should they be looking at for?
Well, China is a place of great opportunities, and we can see that in the development of infrastructure and their economy. We have lots to learn from them in terms of technical skills, acquisitions and know-how. So I feel Nigerian scholars coming here should open their minds up to learn a lot from the Chinese, and we'll get to improve our economy in time.
Your name, please.
My name is Brian Akiri, and I'm the current NIDO China president and chairman.
Okay. What is the situation with Nigerians in China in terms of their number, their activity, and perhaps their challenges? What's happening to them?
Nigerians in China, or like we like to call ourselves NIDO China, we are made up of a large population of youths, actually. And within our youths, we have a large population who are either studying at advanced degrees, maybe masters or PhD, or businessmen as well as intellectuals and corporate professionals, I like to call them. In terms of what we are doing in China now as Nigerians in diaspora, is we are trying to bring ourselves together to see how we can impact both positively our host nation, China, as well as being able to impact upon Nigeria's national development back home in the areas of technical transfer, skill development, people-to-people exchanges. However, there's no relationship without its challenges, but we see those challenges as opportunities to deepen the bilateral relationship between Nigeria and China. Some of the challenges we have raised with the appropriate authorities, and I believe they are looking into it, both the present administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, as well as the government of the People's Republic of China, headed by His Excellency Xi Jinping. Yeah.
Okay. What is your interaction with the Nigerian embassy here in China, and of course the consulates around the country? How are you relating with them as a Nigerian body?
Okay. First, I would like to say, prior to my coming to China, because I've been in China about almost a decade now, I had heard certain stories that were not too pleasant. But when I got to China and I started interacting with the consulate and our mission here, and I have seen the progressive positive steps taken by the mission, both the embassy in China, our consulate in Guangzhou, our consulate in Shanghai, and our consulate in Hong Kong, to interact more proactively with members of the Nigerian community. And in terms of when Nigerians are in need of assistance from the consulate and the mission, they get it quickly and they get it on time. Although there are still areas for a lot of improvement, but in the last 5 years we have noticed a positive improvement in both interaction and response from the mission and the consulate. And we thank the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as well as the current leadership of the mission headed by His Excellency Baba Ahmed Jida, as well as the DCM and the consulates in Shanghai, Hong Kong, and Guangzhou. But we also are looking forward to working more closely with them to be able to improve upon the services being offered to Nigerians in China.
What do you do in China, and how long have you been in China?
I'm a businessman. I've been here for 20 years.
Wow. Okay, so what business have you been into?
I'm into dredging. I have most of my dredger in Nigeria, and I consult also. Yeah, that's what I do.
Why did you choose China as a base?
Well, I feel safe in China, to compare with other countries in the world like Europe and America. So for me, I feel safe in China. I've been here, I took my time to study Chinese, okay, before I actually go into business, okay? So that is it. China is a safe place for me to stay and do my business, okay?
Are you trying to say there are no challenges doing your business here?
Okay, yeah, that's another part. There's a lot of challenges. At least, number one, language barrier, which I have overcome because I studied the Chinese. Then another thing is, the biggest challenge we have as a business person here is when you check, diplomatic is supposed to be vice versa. Okay? So many Chinese go to Nigeria, they get visa upon arrival. So many go there, so many apply visa, they get it almost the same day. But it's not the same. It's not the same for we Nigerians to come to China. That is the only big challenge that I'm having. Okay? Yeah, because my people cannot come to meet me for business, and even my family members, they cannot come. You understand me? They cannot. They cannot. Okay, so if my government should balance it, would give them what they give us, I think that would be okay. That would be fair deal.
Yeah, so I've been living in China now for 23 years, and quite good. I'm into logistics.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Logistics, that's imports and exports.
That is mostly the export out of China,
okay.
So to worldwide, not only Nigeria.
Not only Nigeria.
Yes.
How is the business being?
Yeah, the business is okay. We're in a competitive world, so only we're trying to modernize that we can also, export from other countries to Nigeria, not only from China.
What do you export from Nigeria?
From Nigeria,
we just import into Nigeria.
We only just import to Nigeria.
Why? If we import from other countries, when will our country develop? And we are saying there are no jobs.
Yes, actually there's export from Nigeria, out of Nigeria to other country, but to China here it's a little bit difficult because of the cost of declaration China side here.
Why? So why is it so cheap in our place that the Chinese are not afraid of exporting to us?
In that aspect, because the demand from Nigeria side for Chinese product is a lot more than what the Chinese demand from Nigeria right now.
They don't demand raw materials?
They demand raw material, but it's being regulated by the government here. Like there are some products that you can export from Nigeria, that you can import from Nigeria, not to China, but it's not allowed into some cities. For custom clearance, you have to go to other areas. So, like we have some items that even like some people, there's a kind of I think stone or something, from Nigeria, is supposed to come to Guangzhou, but from Guangzhou the government was not allowed, so it was being directed to Foshan ports. Okay,
now I'm asking you these questions because as a businessman, as a Nigerian, you have the right to make money, you have the right to do your business and so on. But what is that Nigerian thing? Because the truth is that if we don't produce in Nigeria, we keep going down. Whatever complaint we raise will not work.
If the system is working, at least a lot of officials have been here. They could be able to borrow a lot of ideas how it works from here. They can also implement the same thing in Nigeria there. But you can see a lot of Chinese people, in Nigeria there everywhere, and they cannot just be everywhere without someone from the local, say, okay, go to this area, go to this area. Whereas we in China, we can't do that. We have to follow the rules and regulation. If you are caught, there's consequences for that. But in Nigeria, before you know it, they kill the system. So if the system is working in Nigeria, I believe we can also go far at the way China stays right now.
What is your advice for the system to work? What is your advice?
my advice is that the government need to, as our PMB, you know, our president is trying on corruption, you know, to kill into corruption, to study corruption and everything like that. They still need to try more efforts. They still need to try more effort in that area. So the system can only work if it will be. So, but the government need to try more effort in that area. You know what I mean.
Tell me your story about China.
Yeah, basically, I'm very happy to be here to see the developments and the developments of the relationship that has come up from the partnership of Nigeria and China. 40 years ago, China was counted as one of the undeveloped countries, right? 40 years ago. We used to live here 35 years ago when my husband was at the embassy, at this embassy, 35 years ago. And looking back, at that time, coming from Nigeria, I landed here, I saw China was so poor, very poor. I saw two families sharing one globe between. They were just poor and backward. They were undeveloped. But over the years, we have seen what has transformed. 40 years ago, China took the initiative to transform from being centrally managed to market focus, and that made the big difference. Now, what we can see is that from the partnerships, economic partnerships, all kind of agreements that Nigeria and China have had since from the first one was 1978, and we have started to see the development in infrastructure in Nigeria from this partnership. Nigeria has a lot to learn, and it's a win-win because China themselves, they cannot really do without Nigeria. So we are very happy to be here to continue the partnership.
Now, Shanghai is one of the largest cities in China. Indeed, it is the financial capital of China. We sat down with the Consul General of Nigeria to Shanghai, Anderson Madubuki. He spoke to us about Nigerians living and working in Shanghai. Here is our interview with him.
And Shanghai, for the records, is one of the financial global centers. Their population is over 20 million. They are very developed. I must particularly say that I thank God for the luck and the opportunity Mr. President had given me to serve our great country in Shanghai. Modestly saying, we have Nigerians in Shanghai, but they are not as many as we have in Guangzhou, where of course we have sizable Nigerians who are into business, trading. There's a lot of commercial interest in Guangzhou. But Shanghai, like we all say, it's a good thing we have a mission in the place. And for the last 10 months, I assume duty there, I've been doing my best to, first of all, ensure that anything that concerns Nigerians, our interest, trade, commerce, going to schools, going to prisons, these are some of our core responsibilities. Overall, is to ensure that our relationship between this great country continues to blossom, to grow from strength to strength.
Okay. Since that's the commercial capital, if you like, or one of the commercial capitals of the world, do we assume then that most Nigerians who are in Shanghai are into business, or are there people doing other things apart from business?
No. We have, for instance, there are one Dr. Adeleke, the first Nigerian being employed in Jiangsu College. That's when I mean college, I mean university. So you have some Nigerians like us. Dr. Adeleke is a lecturer. In fact, last year when I came, I met another Nigerian, a medical doctor. He came to do a specialist course. Yeah, we have sizable Nigerians that are into education sector, teaching, working, but most of them we have, like we have in schools, students on scholarships. And then recently, people are beginning to realize that China is the place to go. The education standard is good, especially in science and technology. It's a good place. So this is part of the reasons why we're now encouraging Nigeria, especially coming here to see, because most of the things they do here, they are successful. For instance, look at the infrastructure. It's comparable everywhere. I live in the United States. I lived in South Africa, I lived in Europe, I lived in most developed economies. So there's no way, unless you come here, people yet do not appreciate the height China has attained in terms of development. And this is why I'm particularly happy this time that our president, our governors, and most of our leaders came. They took their time to look around. They signed some MOUs, and I'm sure these MOUs are not signed and put under the carpet. They signed it, given the seriousness Mr. President attaches to diversification of our economy and good governance. I want to use the opportunity to urge our people, let's be serious with tapping the technology that China has. That's part of the ways that with what we have from Americans, Europe, and other parts of the world, with close ranks, it's going to help us to quickly develop and key into the level the world expects us to be.
Okay, now for Nigerians who are interested in taking advantage of these things you have talked about here, how should they go about it? You know, knowledge, they say, is power. And then we have people coming here without really understanding where they are going or the kind of environment they are going or what they need to do. What are you telling them?
Macham, this is very simple. That's one of the reasons why we have consulates, we have embassies. If you're going to any country, I want to use this medium to appeal to Nigerians. Always go to your embassy to ask questions. If you're not able to get those questions before leaving Abuja, get to Shanghai, get to Beijing, get to Guangzhou, and look for your embassy. Ask questions. I'm sure when people ask questions, they go through the proper channels, they will never get it wrong. That's first and foremost. And from experience too, people that are into business, if you're doing business with Chinese, and anytime the Chinese businessman knows that the embassy or the consulate knows that both of you have any form of business transaction, they will be clean. They'll be serious with you. They'll be transparent with you. They will treat you better. So our citizens shouldn't wait. When they run into troubles, that's when they remember that the consulates and the embassies are there. We are there for everybody. That's why the government expends so much in keeping consulates and embassies. We are not here to sleep. We are here to work. And of course, to help our citizens who are in one need or the other, and at the same time, ensure that the bilateral relationship between these great countries continue to blossom.
It's that time when we take our Diaspora News. Diaspora News is next on the program.
President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed sadness over the sudden death of Nigeria's ambassador to Qatar, Mr. Abdullahi Bawa Wasi. The president, while extending his condolences to the family members, the government and people of Plateau State praised the roles played by the late Wasi in conflict resolution efforts in Plateau State. He called that even before his appointment as ambassador, the late Wasi was very prominently involved in community peace activism. President Buhari prayed to Allah to forgive the sins of the late ambassador and grant his family the fortitude to bear the loss.
Indeed, we join the president and indeed all Nigerians living at home and abroad in condoling the family of late Ambassador Wasi. We pray that his soul rests in perfect peace. And with that, we come to the end of Diaspora for this week. Thank you very much for joining us. We urge you again to tune in next time for another edition. On behalf of the rest of the team, I am Makut Simon Macham. Thank you and bye for now.